today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a win against the Portland Trailblazers thanks to a 16-0 run in the fourth. Thanks to one man. I'll tell you who that is on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't even build me.
And let it ride. And welcome. You are Locked On to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Joining me, as always, on a postgame, the postgame prodigy. He's not a little bit. He's not mostly. He's slightly biased. What you got for me?
Feeling great. We're surviving the snowpocalypse. More like the sleep apocalypse, but
It's been just kind of like a snow happening. Not really an apocalypse or a snowmageddon.
yeah,
Just
true.
kind of is happening
It
so
started
far.
Going at like 8 where I live, and I was watching this guy on live. He was like a meteorologist or something. He was like, "This is gonna be a snow event. It wasn't supposed to start snowing this early. You're gonna be telling your kids about this snow event." And then
Stop.
It just kind of stopped.
Oh my God, that's like that hurricane in Florida where he was like, if you don't leave now, you will die, and your kids will die too. And you're like, oh my God. And then it ended up being not as bad as it was going to be. But that's kind of what the Mavs game was tonight. We thought it was going to be bad, and it ended up being a lot better than we thought. The Mavs get a win. We'll talk about their win against the Blazers. We'll talk about so many different contributions. PJ Washington, a double-double. We'll talk about Quentin Grimes. Talk about Jaden Hardy. The Hardy party went off again. He's been having a little run of himself. We'll talk about all that. Seats for soldiers tonight as well. Daniel Gafford returns from injury. So many things. But let's start here slightly. This game was what I call the definition of a game of runs. You have just one team who just felt like it had an 8-0 run going at any point during this game. It was 8-0 run, 12-4, 13-3. It was like back and forth, 8-0 run. You just look at the game chart on NBA.com, and it just looks like a wave. You know, just like back and forth, like a heart palpitations. And the Mavs couldn't get any stops once they would go on a run. They would get on a run, and then the Blazers would come back and hit a couple of threes, and all of a sudden it was a Blazers run going the other end. And then the fourth quarter happened, and about 4 minutes and 33 seconds left. The Blazers had 109 points in this game. They had 109 points till the 26-second point at the end of the fourth quarter. The Mavs went on a 16-0 run. And what the Blazers tried to do during that whole run, and a lot of the fourth quarter, anytime Lively was in, they tried to get Lively on a switch. They called his man up, and Lively would run up as the defender, and they would switch, and Lively would be up there in a defensive stance, all 7'1" of him, guarding Shaden Sharp, Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson, and he got scored on a couple times, sure, but Lively held his own there, and Lively did excellent, and that's one of the things that's going to be his superpower. It's what allowed him to play in the playoffs, and to me, I think that's one of the main reasons. There's obviously many reasons, but there's one of the main reasons that they got that 16-0 run.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the best games of his career, like straight up.
Yeah,
21 points, 16 rebounds. You know, just did everything that we could have asked for, and what was desperately needed. Because, like you said, the Mavs were switching everything on screens, and it was Sharp, Simons, just having Dereck Lively on an island, and a lot of the times it ended up being them trying to shoot over him, which sometimes they made him, and then you just have to live with that shot. Like Shaden Sharp hit a tough step-back three over him, like one of their last buckets before they went on that scoreless droughts. That's just one that you have to tip your cap, shake his hand, you know, whatever you want to say. Like, that's just a difficult shot. But Lively's ability to maneuver in space, and best of all, 35 minutes to do so without finding yourself in foul trouble. You know, 3 fouls in a game where you play 35 minutes as a starting center, that's great. You'll gladly take that. So
20-year-old starting center.
20-year-old starting center, 35 minutes. I mean, this is
Second
the
year
dream,
rookie.
I think, for him is to get to that 30-minute threshold. Can he, cut the fouls down enough to where you can comfortably rely on him to play 30 minutes a game?
He was awesome. He was so awesome in this game and stood out in a bunch of different ways. But his defense at the end there, I just thought really kicked that 16-0 run and was allowed them to get there because the Mavs couldn't get. It felt like the Mavs defense was letting down their offense so many different times where it's like, all right, here we go. We have to go against a set defense again. The offense has to try and score against a set defense again, over and over again. And the Blazers actually went with no 5 out there for a little while. What was it? It was 5:41. So right before this run started in the fourth quarter, they took Klingon out. They didn't have Ayton out there. They didn't have a center out there. And then they ended up putting Klingon back in with, I think, like 2 minutes. Yeah, like 2:45 left. So part of that run happened when the Blazers and Chauncey Billups, the coach, tried to go small and to play 5 out. And that's usually when centers get played off the floor. And Lively didn't. And that's what Lively can do that a lot of centers out there can't. Adding a three-point shot would on the other end would obviously make him like the ultimate spacing stretch type player. But we'll just start with this for now, that defensively, if he can play like this, then there's not many places he can't play. And we kind of already knew that, but this game, it showed up really big.
Yeah, and the rebounding was huge as well, because that was right at the gates a big problem. This Portland Trailblazers team, they don't do a ton of things well. They do rebound the basketball really well, especially on the offensive glass. And you saw that. I mean, you're lucky that Donovan Klingon's a rookie. You're lucky that they're not throwing him out there for 30 minutes a game. You're lucky he probably just can't really play 30 minutes a game if you just watch him get up and down the court, because he was a force tonight. I mean, he was giving the Mavs quite a bit of problems on the glass and protecting the paint. Only 2 blocks. But man, it felt like he altered 10, 15 shots at the rim when he was on the floor. So having somebody to counterbalance that and just sort of match size with size was really, really important for the Mavericks, and that's what D-Live did.
Offensively, in that 16-0 run, you had a Lively and one to start it. Then Dinwiddie got fouled. Then you got PJ with the blocking foul when he was attacking. I think he was attacking Klingon on that one, or he was attacking somebody. And then he hit both free throws. You had a big Mavs pass up a bunch of threes. Lively gets an offensive rebound off of that really bad Hardy shot, and then he gets 2 free throws. Mavs had some clutch free throws there too. PJ had another drive into Klingon with 2:26 left, and he hit 2 free throws. Like, just clutch free throws after clutch free throws, which is something that we've talked about with this team, is can they hit clutch free throws? Can they defend in the clutch? They did it in this one. And then the Dinwiddie drive, kick, and PJ corner 3. PJ Washington is just – I mean, he has ascended as a Mavs fan favorite, as a guy that you can just depend on in really tough moments, as a guy that can give you buckets when you need it, a guy that can get you a defensive stop when you need it, a rebound when you need it. He can do so many things. And he talks a lot. We've talked about him as a yapper. We see him a lot yapping to guys, but he can back it up, man. He has been out there doing some really great stuff in the clutch. PJ Washington was awesome. What did he finish with? 23 points and 14 boards, 3 steals, and a block in 35 minutes. Just excellent stuff from PJ.
Yeah, and I mean, he had another fluke lucky corner 3 to sort of put the nail in the coffin there for the Mavs. I mean, he's really racking up these fluke lucky shots. It's becoming kind of remarkable. But no, yeah, PJ.
Love you, Matt.
I mean, 14 rebounds. I mean, that's it with PJ. The size, the numbers speak for themselves. We talk a lot about who's the most important player on this team, missing guys. Then you get into the numbers. We're starting to reach like a sample size now where it's like, okay, what is going on exactly with PJ Washington, their record when he plays and when he doesn't play? I think they're 21-10 now when PJ Washington's on the court, and 1-6, I believe, when he's off. That's worse than the Luka on-off record. Like, when he plays, way worse than Kyrie. Like, it's kind of remarkable. And then you think about it a little bit more, and it's kind of becomes obvious, because it's like, oh yeah, they don't have a guy who does what they do. What PJ Washington does. There's not another guy on the roster really.
If we only cared about money, maybe we would come on this show and say, is PJ Washington the best player on the Dallas Mavericks?
True, we should do that. Clickbait. Here's my argument. Why PJ Washington is the most important player on the Mavs.
Here's why. When the aliens come down, they've got the death ray pointed at the earth. I want PJ Washington.
Honestly, though, what is his clutch quarter 3-point percentage? It's high.
I don't know. Against Western Conference teams, it's insane.
It feels really so. There might be a death beam type of situation here.
But you need that. You need for the Mavs to win these fluky playoff wins that they always seem to get. You need these guys to hit these corner threes or to hit these shots in these moments. And PJ has proven time and time again to be that guy that can hit those shots. And that was a question mark when he came to Dallas for the first time. He was shooting like 32%, 33% last.
And Nick cut out a little bit. I'm gonna continue what he was maybe saying. He didn't even shoot well whenever the trade happened. Like, he got to Dallas and didn't shoot well. Then the postseason came and he had that series against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then from that point on out, obviously, going into this season, he's sort of blossomed. And I think the playoffs, man, you find confidence. He's been a player who was a good three-point shooter early in his career, player who came out of college profiling as somebody who could shoot threes. And now he's sitting at 38% on the season. That's a beautiful number. You would love for PJ to sit around that number, over 4 attempts a game. You know, obviously he's not somebody who's going to break guys down off the dribble. He's not stepping back like Luka. He's not pulling up one dribble off of threes, but he is somebody who's going to, catch and shoot and reliably hit corner threes. And if that's a thing that he can do comfortably, then that's great. Hey, welcome back, buddy.
The AAC is silencing me.
The AAC is silencing me. Don't worry. I did the PJ thing for you.
Thank you. Thank you for finishing. Coming up, let's get into the other contributors. Who else helped the Mavs get this win? We'll talk about Dinwiddie, and we'll talk about the Hardy party. What does this run mean for Jaden Hardy in this next couple games here? We'll talk about that and more coming up.
I don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by TurboTax. That's right. It's that time of year. Message from TurboTax from Intuit. If you're tired of hearing the endless waiting, worrying, and wondering about what are my taxes going to look like, I've been in that position so many times, having a bunch of different jobs and a bunch of different places where money is coming in and going out, working in sports and working for a bunch of different people and doing odd jobs here and there. That is a thing of the past now. You see, taxes don't need to be complicated or stressful. TurboTax is here to change the game by matching you with a TurboTax expert who can get you your work on your return right away. No more waiting for answers. No more wondering if you're missing out on deductions. You don't have to worry about any of that. You've got one form or 20 like I had at one point in my life. TurboTax experts give you your taxes their undivided attention. Ready for a stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert who's ready to take your taxes off of your plate so you can focus on your day or focus on the snow or focus on all kinds of different things. Focus on the Mavericks winning games without Luka and Kyrie. Only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guaranteed.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. Man, so many people came up to me today at the game and said we're part of the Raccoon Squad. I had someone from England. I had someone from all kinds of different places came up. And I also had a listener who got me a Gafford pin. They were giving away Gafford pins, and I got a landlord pin today. It's nice. It's looking nice.
Pins are sick.
The pins have been very cool. The Gafford when he's screaming and he's turning around. We'll talk about Gafford a little bit later. But the Mavs got some great contributions all around. We talked about PJ. We talked about Dereck Lively. Jaden Hardy, 25 points, led the Mavs. 10 of 18 from the field, hit 5 of his 9 threes. 2 assists, which, but his scoring, especially in that first half, I think he had 18 points in that first half, was so crucial. They just needed to stay connected. They needed to stay connected in this game. We were talking about the 8-0 runs, 8-0 runs, 8-0 runs. And if Jaden Hardy doesn't go on his little run or doesn't score or doesn't keep them connected like this, the Mavs probably are down by too much to come back in a game like this. And Jaden Hardy was awesome just playing in his role.
Yeah, and this is kind of piggybacking off of that game against the Lakers. We had 3 threes in a row in that third quarter. It was very similar. And this is the vision right here for Hardy. We talked about he's got to have an elite skill to be somebody who gets regular minutes in the NBA. Yeah. And I think three-point shooting is the most obvious one, right? It's catch and shoot. It's being a guy who can, get you like a tough pull-up three off of the dribble if you need it. But a catch and shoot guy who defenses have to be aware of at any given time, can pull up in transition, whatever the case may be. Second quarter of this game, 14 points, 4 or 5 from 3, hit 4 big threes to, like you said, keep the Mavs connected enough. That way you went into the locker room at halftime, feeling like you could win the game versus being down 12, 14, 15, 16 points. But, if Hardy can get to a point where Nick's like, if Hardy could get to a point where he's someone who is consistently around 40 or so % from 3 on decent volume, then you see the vision for him because everything else opens up. He can attack closeouts. He can, rip and go. He can get guys in the air, drive, attack. He's got a floater game. He does have touch around the rim. Like he was a highly touted prospect for a reason. He's a very skilled basketball player, but he doesn't have that sort of quick twitch athleticism that some other smaller guys have. Think like an Anthony Simons. So it's going to have to be knockdown 3-point shooting. And I don't know if tonight's game factors into this yet, but he's at 37% from 3 so far this season, pretty much 38% if you round up. And he was 4 or 5 from 3 in the second quarter of this game and finished the game 5 of 9. So
just like Jaden Hardy carried the Mavericks at times in this game, slightly carrying me and then in the show when the AAC Wi-Fi, I've had no problems with it. Maybe the whole time we've done the show, and now I don't know what's going on with it. I guess maybe the Wi-Fi is too cold in here, I guess is what it is. That's
true. People don't realize that.
For Jaden, he's had some really good games this stretch. What have you seen from him that has shown this ability? Is it just the catch and shoot? Is it playing off of more guys? Because to me, I think the Mavs have more ball handlers and they have more guys that can make passes to him, and I think that has really affected his game and really allowed him to run around and be the catch and shoot 3-point guy that he's been. Because a lot of these plays, I was trying to look through some of the ones that he had. There was one in the second quarter that was massive. Clay misses a 3. Omax gets a rebound. Hardy misses a shot. Clay gets the offensive rebound again. And then Hardy is still scrambling, running around. And Clay makes the great pass out to Hardy. And that was a Mavs 8-0 run there. Another 3 in transition where he's just taking advantage of running out there. Just so many different types of threes like that. And I think it's because the Mavs have better passers and better playmakers on the team right now.
Yeah, I mean, we know that he plays better off of other playmakers. So he's an off guard, and when he hits those threes, it changes everything. That was my rambling monologue whenever you were being silenced by the American Airlines Center Wi-Fi.
The takes are too good.
They are. They're scared of you.
Yeah. What do you have on a scale of 0 to 5? How much has your opinion changed about Hardy in this stretch, or how much do you believe in him more in this stretch?
Like 1 maybe.
It hasn't moved you that much?
Well, no, because this is what I've been saying, what I expected, where it's just like if he becomes a lethal knockdown shooter, then that does change things. I mean, he's on an unbelievable shooting stretch.
Yeah.
I'm looking at his recent game logs, and I honestly didn't realize it was at this level. This isn't even counting tonight's game. Going into tonight's game, just going back to the other Portland game, he was 3 of 6 in that game, 2 of 3 against the Kings, 2 of 3 against the Rockets, 2 of 4 against the Cavs, 3 of 5 against the Grizzlies, 3 of 6 against the Lakers, and 5 of 9 tonight. That's absurd. That's what, 6 games in a row, 7 games in a row, about 50% from 3?
I think I saw on the broadcast that since like December 28th or something, he's leading the NBA in catch and shoot 3-point percentage.
Oh, I thought it was just 3-point percentage period, but maybe you're right.
Oh, it could be. I mean, it's that too. The stats you just brought up, like if he's shooting 50-something%, he's probably leading the league too. But yeah, it's that ability, and I'm kind of with you, maybe a 1 or a 2 as far as how much it's moved. It moved me to completely change my opinion about Hardy because he is just showing the things that he's shown. But if he can do this on a high level, then he's still a valuable player for the Mavericks and can still bring them stuff. And in games like this, especially without Luka and Kyrie, you need somebody else. Clay is going to get the extra attention, and he's going to space the floor even more. And you need somebody else to be able to take advantage of that space. And you have Naji that can drive, PJ that can drive, Grimes that can drive, and you have Lively that can be the hub and pass and get offensive rebounds and stuff like that and kick out. And you need guys that are also able to take advantage of that on the other end. And Hardy was taking advantage of that a lot in some of these catch and shoot opportunities. I want to talk about Spencer Dinwiddie. 17 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, no turnovers. Massive, but there's a big reason for that. Only 1 of 5 from 3, got a lot of his stuff done from 2, and then 6 of 8 from the free throw line. Just the Mavs need somebody like this in these games. I saw a lot of complaining about, he just pounds the rock. He pounds the rock. It's not fun to watch him, all that. They need somebody to, every once in a while, create offense out of nothing, and that's what he can do. And, yes, he was asked a lot tonight, too. All right, it's you versus Anthony Simons. You've got to turn the corner, and you've got to make something happen. And, yeah, he got fouled a bunch and maybe bailed out on some of those, but he made some stuff happen, and I thought he was really good tonight.
I thought he was really good in the fourth quarter. I mean, I will agree with you where it's just take out Spence. Man, they don't have a lot of other options.
Who
like
else?
Spencer Dinwiddie is a professional basketball player who's been in the league a long time and does know how to run an offense. It's not the most pretty thing in the world. I mean, that's why he's a vet minimum guy. But that's sort of where the Mavs are at now with their injuries. If Exum are back, maybe this is a different conversation. Maybe you're like, man, just get somebody who's more focused on setting guys up, whatever the case may be. But I'm going back on self plug. I'm doing a Quentin Grimes video on my channel tomorrow, And I was
you
going
can
back
always you can always plug Quentin Grimes stuff. Always.
All right, I'll plug Quentin Grimes stuff. But I was going back and watching some recent Mavs games, and one of my bigger takeaways was one, maybe I've been a little too hard on Hardy or a little too harsh, because that was one of my big takeaways was, man, he's been red hot from three. But also two, Spence has hit from some frustrating moments, but every now and then the shot clock will be winding down, and it's like, where is this going? And a lot of that has to do with Spence dribbling the air out of the ball, sure. But then it turns into him hitting a tough floater, a tough sidestep three, or him driving and getting a foul call. Like, and those are huge for this team in its current state. I mean, that's huge.
Absolutely. They just need that so desperately. And they need it with Luka and Kyrie are back too, because every once in a while it'll be Luka and Dinwiddie or Kyrie and Dinwiddie when one of them sits, and you'll need somebody else to take pressure off the other ball handler. I was talking with a listener tonight who said, man, it just feels like when they have those three guys again, it feels like Luka, Brunson, and Dinwiddie again from the 2022 run. It's like, they need three ball handlers that can perform at a decently high level at any point, because then you can put two in. You can always have two in. And Grimes is kind of becoming that, which is super nice. And Naji has been a ball handler. PJ's been a ball handler, so that even takes you to another level for sure. But to have those guys that you can trust and you can put in a situation, like you said, late in the shot clock, where Dinwiddie has to pound the air out of the ball. Now, do I wish he would get into some actions quicker? He's like, wait until 5 seconds, and you're like, you just don't have enough time to do something else if you airball this, or if you miss, or if you can't get a shot off or something. Like, just go into it a little earlier. But it ended up working out tonight, and I thought he played the role that he was asked well, and he did well in that role. And coming up, let's talk about what we saw from other guys. Let's talk about Quentin Grimes. We'll talk about Naji Marshall in his second game returning. I'll talk about Daniel Gafford. He returned from an ankle injury, and what do we see from him? He didn't play a lot of minutes, but I want to talk about something from Daniel Gafford coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs, as long as the Wi-Fi will allow me to continue to do this, is brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money has helped me in my life. I was in a point where I had so many, like I talked about with my taxes, I had so many different income places that I was trying to make ends meet and trying to figure out how it all works, and it was all going in and going out different places. I had so many subscriptions, and I just needed somehow to focus it all together. And Rocket Money helped me to do that. They helped me to cancel some subscriptions. Some of them, I didn't have to lift a finger. They went and canceled it for me, which is super awesome. You love that they can do that. And they also lowered my phone bill. I had a phone bill, and I was like, there's no way that it should be this high. And Rocket Money was like, we agree with you. We would like to lower your phone bill. They went and did that. So go see if they can help you out as well. Go check out all the different features. They've saved users a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. We all have too many subscriptions. There's too many. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon to see all the available things they have in store. rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Slightly, we're celebrating a Mavs win. Mavs win 117-111. At halftime, a listener came up to me and said, I won't tell anybody. Just tell me. What's your prediction for the final score? And I said, Mavs 110, Blazers 105. That was pretty close.
Yeah, but how are we supposed to verify that? The guy said he wouldn't tell anyone.
Yeah, I told you, though. He didn't tell anybody, but I did, because I was right.
I wasn't as positive. I'm not going to lie to you.
I was hopeful at that point, because the Blazers were just shooting so well from three. Let's also talk about that for a second. Why did the Blazers shoot an insane percentage always? They shot 44%. They've only shot 42% or above in 7 games this year. They're not a good three-point shooting team. They are, 26th in the NBA in three-point shooting? They shoot 33.7% on average, 26th in the NBA. And they've only shot 42% or more 7 times this season. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. No, it's 8 times, because 3 of them now are against the Dallas Mavericks.
Insane.
It's insane. Like, what is it about this team that makes them shoot like the prime Warriors against the Mavs?
I mean, some of it, I guess you can attribute to being some of it is the offensive rebounding and the Trailblazers getting those second chance opportunities and kicking out to open shooters. Some of it is just bad luck. I mean, just straight up, just sheer bad luck. You look at some of the guys hitting threes, and Scoot Henderson hit a couple of threes tonight, 2 of 4 from 3. Hasn't been a good 3-point shooter this season. Klingon hit a 3. I mean, he shoots them and he'll make them every now and then, but not like a super high percentage 3-point guy. Chris Murray was 1 of 1, not a super high percentage 3-point guy. Yeah, they cooled off, but early in the game it was like, oh my God, here we go again. Like, this is going to be one of these crazy 50+% shooting from 3 games the Blazers have. And they got the 44, which is still high. But another thing, too, is they shoot 12 threes in the first quarter, and then it's 6 in the second quarter, 9 in the third, 9 in the fourth. And they just go 6 of 18 in the second half. So the Mavs did a much better job. I do think part of that was rebounding for the Mavericks. Securing rebounds and not giving up those second chance opportunities.
Yeah, that was absolutely massive. Yeah, they were 10 of 18 from 3 at halftime, 55%. You just go, how is this happening? I thought when the Mavs were struggling against them, the Blazers made them play chase defense, where you're rotating and you're trying to catch up with the ball before the ball reaches the 5th guy that is wide open. That's sort of the way that the Blazers tried to run their offense. They're like, all right, we're gonna drive, kick, swing, or dump down to somebody, swing. All right, the Mavs defense has to rotate enough so that the last guy that's rotating, or the first guy that was on the ball, has to rotate then to the guy that's going to end up with the ball. And I thought the Mavs struggled with that when it was a big Lively or Gafford guarding the initial player, because then all of a sudden they had to chase to the 3-point line. And then, like you said, the rebounds that, the Blazers get the rebound because your center is guarding out on the perimeter. In the second half, I thought the Mavs fought so hard on defense. This team really fights, and they dug down. I thought their perimeter defenders stayed in front of their men a lot better. I thought that they created a wall just with one player, which is so helpful for that, because if you can't get penetration, then you can't play that chase, right? You're just passing the ball around, and everybody's just standing still. And so I'll give a lot of credit to the Mavs defense. The other thing the Mavs did is Daniel Gafford didn't play that much, and he's coming back from injury, and I'm not going to make this game a referendum on his whole career or even his time with the Mavs or even this season. But I thought that was a move that Jason Kidd made. He played Maxey at the 5 for a little bit in the first half, and he did a lot more playing Maxey at the 5, and then obviously Lively played a ton in the second half, and Gafford only finished with like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is him coming back from injury. And there was a weird, I don't know if you caught it at the stadium, but he subbed out in the second quarter and was like kind of grimacing on the sideline, and we couldn't decide if it was maybe he injured himself a little bit more or tweaked something, or he was just, this was after he turned the ball over and got that insane chase down block. I mean, that block he had was insane on was it Scoot? I mean, that was a crazy block, and he was kind of grimacing. I don't know if he was just frustrated about the turnover or what, but yeah, I mean, there's just matchups, and we knew this going into it, that there's just matchups where it makes more sense to have, Lively out there, or even sometimes go small. And that's what, like, the PJ addition was exciting, made it exciting. It's like, oh, now we have this option to, like, really play good small ball, because small ball this was our big gripes with small balls at times, where it's like, they know it's not just like put a small guy at 5 and just be small all over the court. Like, that's not the idea. It's put like a decently sized guy at 5 like Maxey, and then still have positional size on the floor. That becomes really lethal. But don't tell Rick Carlisle about that. He would just play 3 guards all the time. Yeah, well, the Mavs, like, the kid likes doing that too from time to time. The thing is, though, is Luka, so it makes a little bit more sense. Right. But I mean, I don't know. Just didn't think it was his matchup. Yeah, multiple things could be true, and they could have won still if he played more. I just thought that was interesting. They made that choice. Maybe it was because of an injury. That's a good point. But yeah, Mavs did a much better job defending in the second half. You mentioned the Blazers went small. I mean, a team going small that's not Gafford's game. Right. That's not Gafford's game. Right. And so I just saw that's where the game was going. And so whether it was injury or whether it was not, I thought that was a strategic choice by Kidd, or it was going to be eventually. And then it's also kind of weird, because then they bring Klingon off the bench, and it's like, a huge guy. And the idea behind Gafford is he can sort of dominate some of these smaller, weaker bench bigs. And then you have this huge, ginormous human being in Kling Kong. Kling Kong. Great nickname. It is a great nickname. We got some good nicknames in the NBA right now. Kling Kong. The Mavs are really trying to get a Bleacher Report reel on Kling Kong tonight. Landlord's a good one. Landlord's a good nickname. The Great Barrier Thief for Dyson Daniels on the Hawks. It's a great. Yeah, that's actually the best one in the league. Great Barrier Thief. Yeah, that one is incredible. Whoever thought of that. How about Luka's The Don? You like that one? No. I hate that one. Anytime somebody brings that up, I'm like, no. Stop trying to make that happen. Yeah, the Luka ones, we've talked about this before. Wonder Boy's always my favorite. I mean, he's getting older now, and it's like you can't really use it anymore. That's more of a football thing. Are you saying he's graduated? He's not in the Boy Scouts anymore? Well, it was cool when he was like 20, and it's like, oh my God, this is insane. But that's my favorite one. Luka Magic's good.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not to me. That's not really a nickname as much as that's a catchphrase.
A catchphrase, and it's
Like nobody calls him Luka Magic. You called Magic Johnson Magic Johnson.
I mean, nobody calls him the Don though.
No, nobody does. I was messing.
But it is it's one of his nicknames on Basketball Reference.
Which is so dumb because nobody called. Naji Marshall, he is now his second game back. I thought he looked much better, much more into it. He's finishing some shots at the rim. I thought he was running a little bit better, defending a little bit better. I think it's just going to take him a little bit of time to get back, but that's somebody the Mavs are really going to need if Luka and Kyrie are going to miss a bunch of games.
Yeah, thought he was fine tonight. Thought he did, put pressure on the defense, got to the rim. Things happened because of that, and that's why you go out and get Naji Marshall. And I thought his defensive intensity was really good at times in this game.
Yeah.
So that was good to see.
13 points, 4 assists, hit a couple of threes, got to the free throw line on an and one. Great stuff. Like that's what you want.
Kill a kid. I gotta be honest. Like, I thought his closing decisions were great.
Yes.
Because I was wondering if they were gonna have Clay. He's gonna have Clay and Naji out there. Because I thought Naji was fine tonight, but I didn't think it was like his best game or anything like that.
Right.
But you have to close with Quentin Grimes the way that he's been playing lately and with this group. But he has to be out there, and he was. So shout out to Kill a Kid.
Chauncey Billups said he was one of the best coaches in the NBA.
He's a good coach, man. He just is.
Yes, we've come around. Jason Kidd, we've come around.
Like, what are they? I think after tonight, they're 9-7 without Luka this season.
Yeah, you think that's going to hurt Luka's MVP chances this year?
Well, some other things will probably hurt his chances a little bit. You know what? I can personally guarantee Luka will not win MVP this year.
Wow, you heard it here first. The hater.
Yeah, it's a shame because when he came back after that injury, he was going.
It was looking like it,
and it was like he might make a push. This might be a
where he comes in and the narrative becomes his.
Because I went back and was watching Quentin Grimes. I watched that crazy Portland game when Anthony Simons went off in the third quarter, and that was Luka's first game back from the wrist injury. Oh, we miss him.
What has been and will be again. He'll come back. Luka will return, just like at the end of Marvel movies where it says Ant-Man will return.
Yep.
Luka will return. And we'll return too. We'll continue to have post games for you. We'll have shows 5 days a week. Check the QR code for different ways to follow the show. We have the newsletter going out every weekday. We have the Locked On Mavs Insiders. You can get texts straight to your phone. I'll send you texts. I'll send stuff during games. I'll send any rumor that I see. I'll send out stuff. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Go check out Slightly Biased, great YouTube channel, and all the stuff going on Locked On. Go check out Locked On NBA Game Night. I'm there on Mondays, but all kinds of great stuff. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.
Someone said all these wins feel like playoff wins. So true.
This one did.
Yeah.